Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here. This is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look at the astrological weather forecast for the week of October 25th through the 31st, our last week of October. And like last week, not a super lot going on to talk about, but so we can probably blast through this pretty quick. So it's going to start, like Monday's a pretty mellow day today, that is, but there was the beginning of the first major energy of the week that I wanted to talk about on Sunday, actually, when a T-square formed between the moon opposite Venus and square Neptune. And basically that Venus square Neptune is going to perfect and be exact on Tuesday. So we were already kind of getting a little bit of a taste of that, is my point, even on the weekend. And what that is, you know, Venus and Neptune are the two planets of love in a certain kind of way. Venus is kind of a more conditional, human-based love, whereas Neptune represents a more mystical, collective, conscious, the whole collective's love together. So it's like an unconditional love, you know, versus like a conditional type love. So when they get together, those two planets, they combine that energy, conditional and unconditional love. And we do have a square between them. And it's kind of interesting. Usually this aspect will show that, you know, we've softened up a bit and we're receiving, opened ourselves up to receiving from others. So like relationships kind of become like a focal point with Venus Neptune, because Venus is all about relationships, and in particular relationships centering around love or creativity or spirituality. The issue that comes up with Venus square Neptune is that we all hold like a set of ideals about how we want other people in our lives to be, our loved ones to be. And many times those ideals are, you know, they're not based enough in reality for others to be able to actually live up to all the time. So despite having this really open, sensitive, passive, receptive energy going on, what we can find out with the Venus Neptune square is that we may be still kind of fooling ourselves about certain things, about certain people in relationships, like maybe putting on the rose-colored glasses, so to speak, in a certain way, sensing that these people can't really live up to our ideals. But the issue may not be with them being able to live up to our ideals. The issue may be with us not being realistic about the way people and human nature really is. So that can be, you know, bring a lot of confusion, misunderstandings, things like that. And many times, you know, people keep it inside too with Venus Neptune. It's kind of more like, you know, I don't want to say sulk, because it's still like a happy aspect, but just like, you know, not going to like bring it up and deal with it like in a really open way, but just kind of like maybe hang on to the hope that things might change. And once again, that, you know, they may change, but they may not change the way that you would like to direct them. So a lot of like on that level, that delusional kind of energy. Otherwise, it does give a lot of like inspiration, imagination, which can transform into artistic or spiritual output or manifestation, especially with the square, because the square will like want us to act on the energy of it not fulfilling where we want it to be. So like we may like actually want to express some of that somehow artistically, or go to some spiritual source to find some security and satisfaction. So yeah, and Venus stays busy later in the week. It has a really sweet sextile to Jupiter on Thursday, and that is just a really feel good aspect. I mean, it really usually makes us want to be with friends, go out, socialize, be entertained, things like that. It puts people in a very positive, optimistic type mood, in a general kind of way. And it can be really good for like bringing up more financial opportunities that you will perceive as beneficial or kind of lucky. But it's a fun-loving, and can be passive. But what's cool about it is there is a little bit of a balance going on, as Venus is actually semi-squaring Saturn that day too. So that will bring in some like groundedness to like that positive energy, so that you just don't like maybe lay back and enjoy it, but like actually like maybe try to like manifest something in the real world with it. So Venus semi-square Saturn is going to bring like this sobering, grounding effect to a lot of that good feeling and positive energy and maybe opportunistic energy, and be like, yeah, let's not just look at this opportunity, but also like actually do something with it. And once again, with Venus, a lot of the benefits and stuff come through relationships. So that's going to be a lot of this week. The early part of this week is really Venus dominated type energy. And then we get to the weekend, and the weekend really has what I consider like the two biggest things this week going on, both on Saturday. And if you'll remember, I know we've been really talking about the Pluto-Eris square a lot the last 10 weeks, but you remember the biggest square of the year was that, excuse me on that, was that Saturn-Uranus square of the past year. So that's really the driver of this year's major aspects. And they kind of separated out a little bit while Saturn was retrograde, and Uranus was still going direct for a while during the summer. They their orb kind of spread out, but slowly but surely now they're gonna start getting closer together again. So this week on Saturday, the Sun is gonna square Saturn, and then next week it's gonna oppose Uranus at a certain point. So basically we're getting another fixed T-square starting to line up with the Sun in Scorpio square Saturn this weekend. And I think what we're really gonna see is people are really, we're reaching like a lot of points right now in the world where people are really questioning like who's in charge, the authorities in their lives, whoever that may be, whoever's like a kind of like superior in their life or has some kind of power over them. And I think this one is really going to trigger people in the sense of like feeling really restricted and held back by certain people, and the duties and obligations that they're expecting from us, and the challenge that can lead us to in the real world of like whether what they want from us is worthy of our time, or is there something that we are ready to move forward to make some decision to break free from what may we be perceiving as shackling us to some old structure or form that we're ready to move on from. So, it can feel really depressing and restrictive on a psychological level. It can really feel like, seeing that the glass is half empty, or seeing a lot of the negative parts of the world, and just the things that are kind of wrong, and have us like maybe get in a bad spiral about that kind of thing. So that's, something we're going to be dealing with all, getting closer and closer to the weekend, but all through next week too. And when the sun opposes Uranus next week, a lot of us, may make decisions to like break ourselves free of whatever we feel like we're holding back. And we'll get more into that next week. Now, also, probably the biggest thing of the week really is Mars is changing signs on Saturday and going into Scorpio, where Mars is actually very strong. It's one of the signs that Mars rules, and it, it really is like a very willful, driven, strong, motivating energy, like just really knowing what you want to do and really sinking deeply into it and not allowing, other things or people or situations to throw you off course. And if other people, it's a very like persistent energy, like it's like, this is the energy of a force that's not going to be stopped. If it's like, if something is thrown in front of it, it's going to find a way around it to act. So this is very strong motivation, a lot of like subjective motivation in what we're doing, and really wanting to bring in change, wanting to take actions that, bring some changes in, that are very creative, transformative, but can also like really tap into some really, shadowy energy, energy that can, at times get destructive and violent and angry and resentful, things like that. So, the thing is with Mars and Scorpio too, is like, it's not necessarily easy to get our anger, exploding, but like, if someone is really starting to bother us, it can really build up inside into this really resentful thing, and can really explode out in kind of like ruthless and intense kind of ways. So like, really need to like, have like an understanding of that if we're feeling that towards anyone, that there's like, this very intense energy behind that. That can be vengeful and ruthless at times, and destructive, and can, even bring our own, destruction if we're, acting in an impulsive and unaware and vengeful kind of way. But, but for Mars, really likes to be in Scorpio because it really is focused on what it wants to do. So it's a great time to really, really focus on what you want to do, the projects that you have, the actions you want to take, the ambitions you have, the things that are driving and motivate you, and really sink deeply into it, and not be afraid to get any input from any angle, up, down, in between, left, right, so just like really sink deeply into what we're doing. And of course, Mars, it will be in Scorpio for several weeks, so we'll be feeling this energy of really like wanting, really being engaged in our actions for the next several weeks. And then, also on Saturday is the third hit of the Mercury-Neptune quincunx, which was, went through that during the whole Mercury retrograde period. So there can be a little bit of confusion on Saturday, like having our ideals and our imagination and the things that we're inspired by not quite fitting into reality well that day, kind of like the wrong puzzle piece, but at the same time, it does give a lot of creative imagination and, some possibly good ideas. It's just kind of like having to adjust the intellect and thought processes in relation to those ideas. But like I said, the third hit, we've been going through that since the Mercury retrograde started, so kind of probably have a little bit of a sense of what that's meant for you. And then the last thing on Sunday is a really sweet Mercury trine Jupiter, and just a great time to make plans. We have our minds, our intellect have a really forward thinking, visionary process going on during Mercury trine Jupiter, and it's very harmonious. It flows out really well. So it's a great time to grab, your whatever, your recorder on your phone, or your pen if you still use pen, or sit down at your computer and, get some of those bigger ideas and ambitions that you may have organized and into some kind of framework or plan that you may want to move forward at that time, because the energy will really flow well. And it does benefit a lot of business type relationships, communications, things like that, being able to express your vision well to others, great interactions with groups, and the ability to use any types and forms of media to really get your message out. So a really potent day on Sunday for that kind of energy. And that just about does it for this week. Like I said, not the most intense week, for sure. That Sun Saturn and the Mars Scorpio into Scorpio on the weekend will definitely sense that shift, and may feel like and I know there's a lot of people already feeling like that, and the situations going on in the world and in their lives where they're feeling restricted, stuck by others, and just the circumstances of life. And so that's going to really maybe weigh down on us a little bit heavily on the weekend, but sometime next week it'll spur us to make some kind of decision in relation to those things. So, and then use that Mars Scorpio. It's a really valuable positive energy to really tap into your motivation and ambition. What drives you on the deepest levels to act and do what you really want to do. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. It is on YouTube every week on Monday. Get a YouTube account, become a follower, turn on your notifications, and you'll never miss hearing an episode, if so be. And also, it is out on all kinds of podcasts through Spotify. So just whenever you're on your favorite podcast, Apple iPodcasts, whatever it may be, just look up Astrological Winds channel and you will find it there. Also, and if anybody needs any kind of reading, I am available for them. The best thing you guys can do for me with this free service that I offer is to pass it on to other people who would be interested in it. And if you need some kind of chart reading, please get in touch with me if you'd like to give a donation. Likewise, my email is matthure823@gmail.com. So you can just email me there, and we can talk about what kind of reading you may want. I also have classes available if anybody is looking for lectures, things like that. I'm available. Just get in touch for any kind of astrological services. Okay, next week will be a new month, so I won't only be looking at the first month of November, but we'll also look at the monthly forecast for November also. All right. Until next week, have a happy Halloween and enjoy this time of the year when the spirit world is very, very close to our physical world and can be accessed, and maybe help us deal with some of the energies that sometimes are hidden from us. And, maybe Mars and Scorpio will motivate us to, get to the root of some of that stuff. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. Happy sailing.